Hello, nonprofit leaders. I'm Sarah Olivieri, your host, and this podcast is here to assist people like you, executive directors, board members, and other nonprofit leaders make a bigger impact with insights, tips, and lessons learned from nonprofit leaders and experts. Having been an executive director, a board member, and now a consultant and coach, I truly understand the challenges you face. And that's why I'm here. I'm all about working smarter, not harder, so you can make a bigger impact without the burnout. And so is our sponsor, DonorBox. DonorBox isn't just a suite of helpful fundraising tools, it's a partner that helps you raise more money and supports you in retaining your donors. I love their forward-thinking approach. Visit donorbox.org to learn more. And don't forget to sign up for the Inspired Nonprofit Leadership newsletter, where you'll get bite-sized, actionable tips just for nonprofit leaders like you, delivered weekly to your inbox. Sign up at inspirednonprofitleadership.com/sign up. Okay, let's dive into today's episode. Today, we are talking about goal setting and how to set better goals at your organization and possibly discover if you're setting the wrong goals or the right goals in the wrong way. If you don't know me, I have been a nonprofit executive director, founder, board member, secret toilet fixer, program coordinator, conference coordinator, and for the last many years, I have been a coach, trainer, and consultant to hundreds of nonprofits. Today, we're talking about setting goals. And goal setting, of course, is related to strategic planning, but also, just most importantly, achieving stuff. Because if we don't set goals, it gets really hard to achieve stuff, especially when other people are involved, right? So if there's more than one person involved at your nonprofit, which I know there is, because at a minimum, you're required to have a board of more than 3 people usually or more. There's more than one person at your nonprofit, which means you need to be decent at goal setting and writing those goals down, which is really key. All right, let's get right into the tips. So, for years, people told me about SMART goals and stuff, and I thought I was just really bad at setting goals. It was a very frustrating experience. So I did what I always do whenever something isn't working quite right. I did a super nerdy deep dive into the academic research, and here is the big truth that I found is there are 2 types of goals, and you have to set them in pairs. So anybody who ever told you, oh, set a goal, was leading you astray. You actually need to set 2 goals. What are the 2 types of goals? So the academics call them outcome goals and process goals. You can think of outcome goals as the reaction, the result that happens that you do not have direct control over, right? So if I want somebody to give me $100, unless I'm, trying to, that is an outcome. That is a result that I do not have direct control over. The other type of goal, the process goal, you can think of as the action that gets the reaction, right? The action that gets the outcome. I actually don't like to call them process goals. I like to call them execution goals, because these are goals that you can execute, that you do have direct control over. So how might I get you to give me $100? I might ask you. I might ask you and give you a really good reason. I might ask you repeatedly. I might not necessarily need $100 from you, but just $100. And so I might set a goal to call 100 people. That is within my control. I can't force them to answer the call. I can't force them to have a conversation with me, but I sure well have the power to try to start a conversation and make those calls. Okay, so that is the very first thing that you need to know in setting better goals, or the right goals, or setting goals in a better way, which is you're always setting goals in pairs. And think about, so often we are used to setting those process goals, the things we have direct control over, without really thinking about the result that we're looking for. Or we set result goals, outcome goals, And then we kind of glance over the execution part, and then often we get poor results on our outcome goals. All right. Once you found yourself setting goals in pairs, here's what I want you to know. I want you to then, once you've got those two set, I want you to focus on your process goals. And by the way, you can have multiple process goals or execution goals, as I like to call them, for one outcome, right? Sometimes we actually have to achieve multiple things to get an outcome. And I want you to now, if you're working on a process goal or an execution goal, now you can apply that SMART formula: specific, measurable, actionable. I forgot what the R is at the moment, and T is time bound. Anyway, you can look up SMART goals, but you can apply all these specific things of the SMART goal format to process goals. But please don't try to apply that formula to outcome goals. All right. So now when you focus, if you are evaluating your process or progress, if you're an executive director receiving an evaluation, the majority of the evaluation should be on, are you achieving the process goals, the execution goals, right? As far as evaluating you and outcomes, or you and your team members and outcomes, we want to see, did you set appropriate outcomes? Did your process or execution goals make sense for the outcomes that you're trying to achieve, right? But we don't want to evaluate or judge people's performance based on achieving outcomes only or directly. That's kind of secondary. All right. Third, what I want to share with you today is that to make your process goals or your execution goals really achievable, what I recommend is you set that goal, and then you're going to create a list of projects. So maybe your goal is to raise, your outcome goal is to raise $100,000, and your execution goal is to do an email campaign to your email list, right? So complete an email campaign to our email list. That would be a process goal, or what I like to call an execution goal. Now I want you to break that goal into the projects. And if you really want to get good results, you'll make each project something that can be completed within 2 weeks. So one project might be planning, drafting all the emails for the campaign, getting all the stories that you're going to put in there, a lot of information to collect. Another project is probably just going to be setting them up and sending them. That's pretty straightforward. And a third project might be evaluating how everything went and making notes on how you're going to do it for the next time. And then within each project, you can have the individual tasks that need to get done to complete that project. Those are my tips for you today. If you focus on getting really clear on the outcomes you want to achieve, and then set the corresponding execution goals or process goals, or you could even call them tactics if you'd like, to achieve those outcomes. And then you really ask yourself, are these the best tactics? Are these the best execution goals to achieve that outcome that we can possibly muster with our given resources? And then you take those, and if the answer is yes, proceed. If you take those goals and those execution goals, and you break them down into projects that can be completed within 2 weeks. And then every 2 weeks, you're going to check on how your projects are going, and the next projects that are coming up, you will make such incredible progress at your organization, and you will find that you are doing it with less work and less overwhelm. Those are my tips for you today. If you're like, oh my God, Sarah, I want to do this, but I need help. I want to get the full manual, full instructions for exactly how to do this kind of planning, goal setting, project creation, task execution. That is what I do with my clients one-on-one in the Thrive program. And if you'd like to see if you're a good fit for that, you can go to pivotground.com/application. Fill out the short application. There's no cost to apply. There's a cost for the program. And I will manually review your situation, your organization, see if we're a good fit, and then we'll go from there. All right. Such a pleasure, everybody. Until next time, all the best.
You've been listening to Inspired Nonprofit Leadership. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode or the bonus episodes. And while you're at it, Please leave a rating and review and be sure to share with your friends and colleagues. Tune in every week for more useful insights and wisdom on nonprofit leadership. Thanks so much for all you do for the communities you serve. Until next time, all the best.